All right, this podcast is part of the More Than Baseball organization. More Than Baseball is working daily to better the lives of minor leaguers all over baseball. Our mission is to enhance and protect the future of the game by allowing every baseball player to live a better life during and after their careers. Check them out at morethanbaseball.org. All right, super excited for my guest today. Drafted in the sixth round by the Miami Marlins out of Dallas Baptist, top 30 prospect in the Marlins organization, and has been putting up some numbers in Beloit. MD Johnson, how's it going, brother?
Good. How about yourself?
You know what? I can't complain. I'm glad we got all these technical difficulties out of the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't sure if we were going to be able to record today or if it was going to, have the quality and all that kind of stuff. But I'm glad we were able to get this done. Your season's
Likewise.
over. Yeah, your season's over. So
Yeah.
what have you been up to?
Season ended. We didn't even play the last two games. Saturday, Sunday got rained out in Appleton. After that, went back to Beloit and drove my camper and my wife and my dog back to Texas.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. So you have a camper. You don't even live,
Yep.
which is nice because you don't have to live in the hotels every time. Do you take that every like road trip or do you just
No,
live?
just at home.
Okay.
Just at home.
Like that's pretty cool because I know some guys I've talked to guys who've been I've had on here whose wife like lives like with her family during the season and
No,
all
my
that
wife
stuff. So
travels full time.
yeah, that's
She
so.
came on because of how the Midwest League is.
Mhm.
All the travel's not super bad and stuff. Like whenever we went to Lake County or up to Great Lakes, like that was like 7, 9 hours. Like she didn't travel there, but for trips like Peoria or Quad Cities, they're like 2.5 hours. She would come for the week and traveled full time.
Yeah, that's all. How long have you been married?
I got married January 26th of 2020, so right before
COVID.
everything kind of went happen.
Wow.
So we got married, and then 7 days later, went to spring training. So it was right
Wow.
off the bat, just get
Like, at
going.
least you were able
So
to
it
make.
actually worked out. Like my first year being married, I spent at home, so that was nice.
Yeah, and like there are some like small little benefits that COVID kind of provided. Like obviously that you were able to get it under the wire too, because otherwise you may have had to like postpone the wedding. Because I know I was reading
Mm-hmm.
stories of people everywhere like postponing weddings, funerals,
Oh
like
yeah.
graduations. Like obviously the whole world just kind of put on pause. So you're able to get that through there. I want to talk to you about this. You're a top 30 prospect for the Marlins. I always ask this question: how did you find out you were a top 30 prospect?
I actually didn't know probably for 2 to 3 weeks after, and so the all the guys just started like making fun of me, like, "Hey, you're a top 30 guy now. Like, you're
Yeah.
different. You've changed all this." And it's like, no, like I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not something that I really just try and like look at. Like, it's nice to have, I
Sure.
guess, in your back pocket, but it's not like something that's like, oh, you have to do this now or this. Like, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, like I've had guys. I love asking this question because most of them be like, "Yeah, I had no idea. My dad told me." Right? I had no idea until
Yeah,
like my teammates were like, "Oh, you're a big prospect now," kind of stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
That's awesome. So obviously you were putting up numbers in Beloit. I want to talk about playing in Beloit because
Mm-hmm.
I told Brian Hoeing this, and I tell all the guys who had on and shout out to him for doing well with the Marlins now
Mm-hmm.
as a major leaguer. But I asked him, I said, you got to put Beloit Survivor on your Twitter bio
Yeah,
because you were able to survive playing in Beloit, and you played in the old stadium, right?
yeah. I only had one start in the old stadium.
Okay, tell me
So
about
Brian
playing there.
obviously had half the season, but oh, Pullman. Think of your local high school that is like a 1A school and they don't take care of the field. So it's just bad hops everywhere. It has a 20-mile-an-hour wind straight out to center every game, and center field's 350 feet.
That's crazy.
That's Pullman. And then you switch it over and go to ABC Supply where we played this entire
Yeah.
season, and it's an absolute graveyard. Like there's a spot that's like 4 like 18 or something like that in left center. It's an absolute graveyard.
Yeah, no, I've been to the new one. I got the shirt for like the in the first season. I think I was there maybe like the first opening day, like or opening week or something. I got a t-shirt saying
Mm-hmm.
like, first year
Yep.
and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. No, the new stadium is beautiful. Like I love it.
No,
I've
it's
been there
amazing.
and
It's
it's
amazing.
100 is and I've been to the older one too because I live about 45 minutes away from the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And like the older one was just absolute garbage. And I always ask guys like, "Hey, so what's the worst place you've been to, or the worst city you've been to?" And legitimately, everyone says Beloit. Like it's Beloit
Beloit.
is just like I have no idea where I was. The hotel was terrible. Like the locker.
Yeah.
One guy told me his locker room was like in the shower, basically. Like it was like in the bathroom,
Yeah.
like his visiting locker. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot even imagine playing there. But good for you. You survived one start, but no big deal.
Survived.
But you are a survivor of Beloit. You are in the new stadium now, which is beautiful. Hopefully you never play there again, though, for being honest.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. So I also hear you're like the go-to guy for like glove repairs. I was reading that
Yeah.
somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
what makes like,
Yeah.
are you like you're just a go-to guy for gloves?
Yeah. Go to club. So obviously, that I got involved with Meraki
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Meraki gloves. So that's been awesome for me to help and work with all those guys for this mostly pretty much the entire season. But really, it started in spring training. I had my throwing partner, Zach King, his glove broke when we were playing catch. He's like, "Can you fix it?" I was like, "Well, yeah." So I started doing that, and he was like, "Okay." And then I had Dax Fulton was like, "Hey, my gloves like." I used it all last year. It's got grass stains on the blue lace and everything. It's like, can you redo it? I was like, well, yeah. I mean, not going to be that hard. And so redid it on blue. And then another guy is like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this? And then it started like going snowball effect. And I think I ended up doing like 17, 18 gloves, I think, over the season
Wow.
from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's cool. And like you mentioned, like the is it Meraki? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meraki Meraki gloves.
Yeah, I see them posting everywhere now. They're blowing up on social media and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of the guys, especially in the Marlins. I think it's like in Marlins where a lot of the guys in your
Yeah.
organization were kind
So
of starting that.
the CEO, the guy who started, is Cody Mincy,
Yeah.
who he's literally played everywhere across the globe. Literally, he's played
Mhm.
like 10, 12 different places, and then caught on with us last year for his first taste of affiliate ball, and he's just gone on from that. And he
Mhm.
had a really good year this year. And then obviously, Tyler.
Yep.
Tyler's in on that as well.
Mitchell?
So
Are,
Mitchell.
are you pretty good friends
So
with him?
yeah, I played with Mitz the back half, obviously, last year, and then for the first half of this year
Okay.
before he went back to Pensacola. So yeah, Mitchell and Mincy, they get confused sometimes, but yeah, both of them, yeah, really, really close with both of them.
Yeah. So do you have any funny Tyler stories? Because like I've had him on the pod. Obviously, he's my guy.
Oh,
Anything funny I can DM him later, be like, dude, I heard this about you, or something just funny we can kind of make fun of him about.
there's got to be something out there. It's not really super funny or thing, but I would mess around with Tyler because he has obviously one of the best changeups I've ever seen in all of baseball. But how the Marlins graded it is it's like only like a 55 or a 60 grade. So in other organizations, they would mark it as like a 60 out of 60 grade, like a top notch changeup, and the Marlins
Mhm.
just don't rank it like that. So we would always just make fun of him, like, hey, you have the best changeup in like all of the organization. You only have a 50 grade, where we have someone else like Justin Evans who has like a 80 grade breaking ball. We could always just make fun of him for like saying, yeah, so you have like the best changeup in the entire org, and it's not even an 80 grade. We have this other guy who has two 80 grade pitches and everything like that. And
Yeah.
he would just like, is every
Yeah.
single time. So that's pretty cool.
That's also yeah, like you said, his changeup is nasty. Like he's good, and
Yeah,
like, I think
it's
he should
it's
have been called up.
disgusting.
He should have been called up way sooner than he was. But
Oh, 100%.
credit to him
100%.
for credit to him for actually getting up to Double A. Hopefully, he just moves up from there. But yeah, so yeah, he's my guy. He's been on. He actually told me about another guy in your team, Josh Stinson
Simpson.
Simpson.
Simpson. Yeah.
So all
Simpson
right,
spent time between double A and triple A.
yeah. So he told me I don't know if you ever play with him, but he told me last
Yeah, I
year.
played with him in short season in Batavia.
Okay, so he told me last year that he would get hyped up by drowning himself.
Yep.
Have you tried that yet? Like,
As a starter, I never did. But in 19, when I was still out of the bullpen after the draft, and I went to short season, a couple of the guys tried it. It does get you going. It really does.
that's
It's
crazy.
weird. It's a super weird feeling, but if you push past that of like you're literally just snorting water,
Yeah,
you're fine. Like if you get past that, you're fine.
yeah. So you have tried. So does it actually hypes you up?
I've done it once. Oh, 100%,
Man, I gotta
100%.
try that. Next time I gotta have Tyler. I want to go maybe spring training or something during that week or something, and go out there and maybe I'll just video it, like me just getting hyped up before a podcast or something, just snorting water and drowning myself. But
Yeah,
that's not
I've seen Josh do it for 3 years now. Like
wow.
it's crazy.
I gotta get him on the pod. Like I just ask where he found that, like how he even discovered that. Because I know guys who do smelling sauce, Red Bull, obviously, but like or like pre-workout, dry
Yeah.
or with water and stuff? Like, what do you do to get hyped up before you pitch? Like, obviously, you're a starter, but like, what do you do to like?
So I don't do too much. Like I just try and stay more under control because that was part of
Yeah.
the problems that I had last year was just like getting too amped up and just
Mm,
kind of throwing me all over the place. So this year I just really tried to like take everything and be in control of my body and what I'm actually trying to do. And then obviously I had more success this year than last year. So it's like it's something that it's like if it didn't work, I'm going to try something else.
yeah.
But maybe pull a Josh Simpson. But what's worked for me this year is what I'm going to try and carry on in for next year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's talk about you growing up and stuff. So you and I had something in common. We were both homeschooled. So
Okay.
I was homeschooled for middle school and high school. Like, were you homeschooled just high school or like all your like growing up?
Fifth grade all the way up.
Literally, same with me. So, like I said, we have the same thing in common. We're basically homeschool brothers. How was it for you being homeschooled and still getting like recruited? Obviously, you played at Dallas Baptist and stuff. Like, so how was that process for you since you didn't go to high school? But I'm sure you played travel ball and stuff.
No, it was all through travel ball.
Okay.
Like I played for one of the big name organizations here in Texas, Dallas Tigers,
Hmm.
and I got recruited through that for the most part.
Okay. And it's like, what is the scene? Because I know in Texas in general, obviously it's like a football state, but like baseball's
Hmm.
huge there. Like they have a
Yeah, baseball's huge.
ton of good talent. Like, what is like? Who was there a lot of good players in your area that maybe went D1 or got drafted and stuff?
My sophomore year of high school, I pitched against Patrick Mahomes. If anyone knows who that is,
What?
um,
How was that?
let's
Like,
see. It was fun. He struck me out. I struck him out. So it all in all, it all works out. But
so you can brag to your kids in the future and say, "Hey, do you see that Hall of Famer? Because by then he'll probably be a Hall of Famer.
100%.
I 100% struck him out. That's
Yeah.
electric.
Obviously, Kyler Murray
Yeah.
is
Oh,
from
you faced
Allen.
him
That's
too?
40. I never faced him in high
Okay.
school. Didn't face him in college. I didn't throw against Oklahoma whenever they came to our
Yeah.
place. But obviously, Kyler is from 45 minutes north of me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Big name from 2014 draft. The Marlins took Tyler Kolek up to 102. He's from Shepherd. That's like 2 hours south. Like you got big names coming out of Texas from years ago and will be from years to come.
That's crazy. I still can't believe you faced Patrick Mahomes. That's like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I would be the cockiest guy ever if I struck up Patrick Mahomes. Like I would have signs at like Chiefs games like, "Hey, remember me?" Like I'm here. That's insane. Okay, so then how was the recruitment for Dallas Baptist? Like obviously were there other schools like interested in you? Like what was the whole process for that?
So my dad had pitched at DBU for 5 years, 85 through 90. My mom went to DBU, graduated.
Cool.
So it was obviously the school that I wanted to go to just because it's also 15, 20 minutes down the road from my place.
Oh, nice.
So it's the hometown school. I really like the coaching staff that was there, how they based their program and everything. And obviously, they're really good at baseball. 9 straight 40 win seasons, which no
Mhm.
other school has done. So that's something that I got to be a part of for 4 years. But I actually committed right after the fall and Thanksgiving of my sophomore year of high school. So I committed pretty early just because I knew that's where I wanted to go. I didn't really open up into a recruitment of other bigger schools, which probably would have happened. But I just always knew deep down that's where I wanted to go. My brother's a sophomore there this year.
Oh, sweet.
So it's just running the family.
Yeah. So did you do any other visits? Or you were pretty
No,
much
I
like
didn't
you
have
were just
any.
set?
Nope. I went to DBU. I took my official, took my unofficial, and I was like, all right, this is where I'm going to school. If
Yeah.
you want me, you want me. If you don't want me, well, I'm stuck.
Yeah. Wow. And they have some absolute legends who've played there, like Ben Zobrist. Like, are there just urban
Mm-hmm.
like tells of what he did while he was there in college?
So here you'll get a kick out of this. So our head coach Dan Hefner and Zobrist married sisters.
What? Okay.
So Zobrist obviously was around, especially for all of our alumni games. So I've had several conversations with him. Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Some of the older guys like Freddie Sanchez,
Hmm.
who's second baseman for the Pirates, DBU. Jason LaRue also
Hmm.
went to DBU. And then you obviously have the newer guys of, let's see, Drew Smith's in the bullpen and the Mets right now, one of their lockdown relievers.
Yeah.
Derek Hall's with the Phillies. He just won their minor league player of the year. He had to sit in the big leagues, ended up with like 36 home runs and like 8 homers in the big leagues.
Jeez.
So there's guys that are coming out of that program year in, year out. And now they're just now getting an impact in the big leagues.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, I can just imagine like all the like the legends you would hear of these like I said, Zobrist 2-time World Series,
Hmm.
you obviously family with your coach and stuff. Like this, like I actually liked him because I grew up an A's fan, so he played for the A's a little
Hmm.
bit. Then I
Yep.
hated him because he was on the Royals and they won the World Series, and then I hated him when he was on the Cubs. So I was like, on the Cubs, yeah, on the Cubs. So I'm like, he went from like when
Yeah,
he was
2016.
yeah, one of my favorite players to like, not too fan, but like, overall in general, he's just a great player, and like that's cool that he was
Yeah,
able to come through there, and you could just walk the same halls that like guys like him
exactly.
have gone. That's pretty sweet.
Hmm.
What was one maybe one school that you just loved to pitch against when you were there at Dallas Baptist? Like maybe the fans were extra cocky, or you just like pitch really well against them.
Tech,
Tech.
tech. Oh, tech. So my story is I reclassified out of high school. So
Mm-hmm.
I was a 2016 draft guy, reclassified into 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So my first semester of college would have been my senior second semester of high school.
Okay.
So as a freshman, I threw against Tech in the winter go home game of the regional
Wow.
and went like 7 innings, seven punchies, like 1 or 2 runs, whatever it was. And we ended up winning the winter go home game. And it was always like, hey, I just took out like the top team in the Big 12, what
Yeah.
should have been my senior year of high school. So
That's
that's always just
crazy.
something. Those fans were crazy. The best part about there is I threw a fastball, whatever it was. The guy fouled it off, hit the net, came back on the field, and I just walked over and I picked it up, and the umpire was just like, "Hey, just throw it out," and I just walked it up and I like handed it to him, and all the fans, because obviously at Tech it's just all metal bleachers, they're all
Yeah.
stomping on him, they're like, "Just throw him the ball, psycho!" And it's just like, okay. And then
Yeah.
ever since that game, like it's just like I can just hear it whenever like the crowd goes wild. I can just hear it's like, oh, it's just like Tech all over again.
Wow. So what were some of the chirps that they were saying? Because obviously, like they can get pretty chirpy out of those games.
Oh, they were just calling me a psycho for just not even handing the umpire the ball. Like, or I just handed it to him, just throwing it out. I just
Yeah.
walked it up and handed it to the umpire.
It's
Like I
kind of
was
like
just an
it's kind
18
of like
year
a
old
power move
freshman.
for you. Then you're like, I'm not going to toss it. I'll walk over there and hand it to him. That's
Yeah,
kind of a power move.
it's like uh we ended up scoring a whole bunch of runs that game. I think we were winning like 8 or 9-0 in like the seventh inning, and
Yeah.
a guy hit like an infield single, and I tried to pick him off, and my first baseman called time and walked over to me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I tried to pick him up." He goes, "We're up by 10."
Yeah.
So it's like I was just completely zoned out that game.
Wow. Who was
It's
maybe
probably my
one?
favorite college memory.
Well, that's so cool. Who's maybe one guy that you faced in college that maybe you've seen again here in the minors? Is there anybody like you face and you're like maybe you see them around
I
again?
haven't faced him, but he just debuted. So I did pitch against Josh Jung. I had
Okay.
pitched against
From the,
him.
from the Texas Rangers.
Hmm.
Did you strike him out?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Um, let's see. Um, mm, um, Steel Walker went to Oklahoma. I pitched against them my freshman year. And he hit a 506-foot bomb off me.
What?
It's the farthest ball I've ever given up. So, and he's in
Yeah.
the big league, so I guess
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of
Uh,
tip your hat like, hey, big league hero. I mean, no big deal.
yeah, no big deal. So, off the top of my head, that's all I can think of, but I'm sure there's been plenty.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when was your if to when moment? Like, you stopped saying, if I get drafted, but you started telling yourself, when I get drafted. Like, when was that moment that you knew, like, all right, I'm gonna get drafted. Like, I have a future in this. I'm kind of nasty at baseball.
Um, so after my junior year, I dealt with a little bit of thoracic outlet syndrome. So I kind of like the back. I had a really really good first half of the season. Then my thoracic outlet kind of started kicking in, and I would be like 93, 95, and then same effort level after 20, 30 pitches in a pitch or two, I would literally fall down to like 83, 84.
Mhm.
Like, didn't even know. I thought I was throwing the balls just as hard. Now we coaches come in. I was like, "Are you okay? Like, you're throwing 80 miles an hour." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So after that, and I had a bad outing in the regional. It's like I told the coaching staff, "It's like, hey, I know I had a really good year. Chances are I'm going to get drafted, but I'm coming back." And they're like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah." Like I got unfinished business here. We ended up losing to Arkansas in the regional barely. Hurston Kerstad robbed our best player of a grand slam in the eighth inning. We lost by one.
Wow.
So we were that close to going to a super when I was there, obviously. But after that, I came back. We had a new pitching coach my senior
Did you
year, and
get
Josh
drafted?
Hopper.
Did you get drafted during that or no?
I didn't get drafted.
Okay,
I had a couple teams call me. It's like, hey, we'll sign you in like the 10th or the 12th. I was
Mhm.
like, it's not worth it for me.
Sure.
I'm gonna go back to school. New pitching coach came in. Josh Hopper, he's now one of the coordinators for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He only lasted a couple of years at DBU just because of how good he is and how
Sure.
he really changed our program. But it was really through him of like figuring out who I really was, my identity as a pitcher, using what we use at DBU of like we're always going to get 1% or 1% better every single day. That's our goal for every single season. Everything that everyone comes through, that's our one goal. And using that of him using me as a senior to grow with the freshmen and make everyone like each player holds this, someone accountable. That's not something that we did my first couple of years, and moving on from that of just going through, hey, this is who we need you to be, this is who you are, this is who you can be. And then I had my senior year ended up being my best season, so it was after that I was like, hey, I got a good shot of going somewhere.
Yeah, and you get obviously drafted. I think what, sixth round? Am I correct?
Sixth round.
Yeah, sixth round. So
Yeah.
you mentioned talk about finding your identity, like maybe some advice for like younger players or people, maybe someone who's searching for that like identity as a pitcher or even a position player. Like, what would your advice be to them?
Honestly, you know you're your best coach, you know you better than anyone else, so anyone can give you advice, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that that advice is what's best for you.
Yeah.
So I've been given, especially ever since I got drafted, it's like, hey, here's some advice here, here's some advice here. You take bits and pieces of what you know, and you take bits and pieces of what you're being told, and then you form it into what makes you, is what I call it. So I'll sit down in spring training and be like, hey, this is what we want you to work on. And I'll say, okay, this is what I want to work on. Let's mold it. And we'll merge the two and then really just try and focus on a plan like that.
Yeah. Are you into like the analytical side of baseball or like
Unfortunately, I am extremely into the analytical side.
why
Uh,
unfortunately? Out of curiosity.
um, I've been told I know too much of the facts of I analyze. I don't overanalyze like I used to, especially when I was in college. But I can analyze of, hey, so this wasn't working. I want to go look at the analytics of why it wasn't. This was working on this day. I can pinpoint and tell you why. And it's kind of what I ended up doing during the COVID year. Is I went to one of the facilities here in Dallas, and I went into the lab and I literally created three pitches that I needed. I didn't have a changeup. My slider was good. I tweaked a little bit better, and I needed a better curveball. So I literally took 2020 to literally just create three pitches using TrackMan, Rapsodo, and all the analytics I could get. And to some people, it's like, hey, I don't really understand any of this. Just let me throw the ball. And for
Yeah.
me, it's just like, hey, I have good stuff, but I can use analytics to make it better.
Hmm.
So this is how I feel about it.
Do you ever go to like Driveline or do any of that kind of stuff or no?
Kyle's been down to DBU, and I've met Kyle. He obviously runs Driveline. I've met him a couple times. I have not ever
Well,
gone back
he
up
he went
there.
to DBU.
No, he had come down
Oh, okay.
to
To
campus
visit.
a couple
Sure.
times. Um, my roommate, my first 2 years of college was Garrett Wolforth. His dad runs the Texas Baseball Ranch down in Houston. So I've always been down there growing up and everything since we both went to DBU together. So that was more of my home base,
Okay.
especially in high school. But I've never been out to Driveline.
Cool. Yeah, I know they have a ton of good stuff. They're obviously helping a lot of guys get
Mm-hmm.
recognized. They're always on Twitter and all that cool stuff. So you already talked about playing in Beloit. Like, were there any other cities that you've been to as a baseball player, professional, where you just get off the bus and you look around like, where am I? See like a Subway and maybe like a Dollar General or something.
In the Midwest League, not really. It,
Hmm.
it actually wasn't that bad. The worst one would probably be Lake County.
Okay.
The only restaurant really is a Waffle House, and you have to walk a mile and a half to get there. There's hardly any DoorDash, so there's a couple like hole in the wall places where
Hmm.
you're just like, there's like nothing here.
Wow.
But and before everything happened in 2019, when I was in short season, pretty much everywhere you went in short season was like that. Just every single place.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you have any interesting or funny minor league stories? Because I talked to guys who like pull up their bed sheets and they find blood on the sheets in their hotels or their bus breaks down. I've had like guys tell me like fans have climbed onto their bus. They trying to take pictures while the bus is about to pull out and stuff like that. Do you have any interesting or funny minor league stories?
Nothing that drastic. We were
Yeah.
obviously told in 19, like it's like, hey, we're going to this hotel. Like you're sleeping on the floor. You're not pulling the sheets back or anything. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen needles in toilets and everything on in hotels that we're staying at.
Hmm.
Um, Nothing super drastic. No, not for me.
Have you had any funny like minor league or fan interactions? Because like I've had guys tell me like fans have asked them to sign their foreheads and kids asking them to sign obviously like everything from like a phone case to like whatever it may be. Like how have you had any funny fan interactions?
Mm, not not anything out of the
Yeah.
ordinary. I mean, I've had guys come up with custom stuff before, but
Oh, cool.
honestly, not really. I mean, obviously, I haven't really been anywhere where there's been a whole bunch of super, fans and like that. Because like, who comes to the games out in Beloit? Like that's like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
For real.
Beloit, Wisconsin. There's
Nothing there.
nothing but nothing.
Yeah, no, it's literally I've been there like it's always empty. I feel like maybe on the weekends it's better. I've only gone during the week, like on weeknights and stuff, and it's like you can hear everything. I have
Oh,
a
100%.
buddy. I have a buddy. You were probably there when he made his debut. He's in the Brewers organization. He played for the Timber Rattlers. He made his debut after like 2 or 3 years of cancer. Coming back from cancer.
Oh,
I
yep.
can't. My mind's completely blanking right now. But anyway, so he was there. I was there for his debut, or when he
hmm
was pitching, and like everyone's cheering. Like both sides, everyone
hmm
had like a moment, which is I thought was pretty cool. Like just seeing that happen. But yeah, that was a cool
hmm
moment there. That's the
That,
thing
that
that's
was
allowed.
pretty cool. That and when we were in South Bend
Mm-hmm.
and they did their not their Miracle League, but like their Cancer Survivor trot around the bases. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
No, for
something
sure.
that I went. It's something I went to, and I talked to our front office there in Beloit, and I was like, "Hey, if this is something like we can somehow find and incorporate in for next season, I think that would be pretty cool." And they all agreed. So hopefully, something like that's going to happen in Beloit next year as well.
Nice. Yeah, Tyler Gillies. That's now it came to my mind. Tyler
Yeah.
Gillies is his name. Yeah, he's from Canada. He just got back there actually. All right, so we'll kind of wrap it up real quick. But who was like the clubhouse guy in Beloit? Like maybe the guy who's like cracking jokes, maybe the glue guy in the group.
100% Cody Morissette.
Okay.
Definitely Cody.
Like what would he do with just like he's just a music guy or he's just funny?
He,
Like
he was just the guy that he was just the team leader. Everyone respected
sure.
him. Everyone looked up to him. He really kept everyone accountable what they did. We weren't really just that one team where a whole bunch of guys were just off by themselves or anything. Everyone's like, hey, somebody go over there. The guy can't be alone. And really just kept us all together and made us all like the guys that we were.
That's awesome. Who was the hardest pitcher or like who's the hardest batter you faced since so far in Beloit or yeah, I guess Beloit.
Like who I pitched against
Yeah,
or
yeah.
in our org.
Yeah, who you pitched against? Maybe some guy you just can't get out. Like he just has your number.
Sal Frelick got 4 or 5 hits off me this year.
He's good.
So
Yeah.
uh probably for this year, probably be Sal. Yeah.
Yeah. Like yeah, the Brewers have a couple of young outfielders
Mm-hmm.
and infielders who are really good. Sal's one of them, obviously. I think he might be in Nashville now in AAA.
He's in AAA.
Yeah.
He's hitting like 380 in
Yeah.
AAA or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Everyone in Brewers Twitter is just mad that they don't call him up because like what do they have to
mm-hmm.
lose? Like they're 2 or 3 games out of the wild card. They have like 14 games left. Like might as well just bring him up and
Exactly.
see if he can spark a little better and stuff like that. So we'll end on this. When you're not pitching, what do you do for fun? Like obviously you're married, you have your wife, you have your camper, your dog. But what do you do for fun when you're not pitching?
I do a lot of fishing.
Okay.
I did where we stayed for this season. Uh, Obviously, the rest of the team stayed in the team hotel.
Yeah.
We stayed on the Illinois side of Wisconsin of the border,
Boy. Yeah.
about 5 minutes away from the stadium on a lake. So I did a lot of fishing there. Uh, it was actually a quarry at one point, so like it's crystal clear down to like up to 90 feet. I think it's the
Oh,
deepest
nice.
point. So that's where I did a lot of my time. Obviously, when I'm in the locker room, I'm doing a whole bunch of glove design and stuff like that with Meraki.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I really enjoy getting to this year. Because the big thing about that is like it's for players by players. Like it's literally everything's coming from inside a minor league clubhouse, which
Yeah.
is something that no one else in the glove industry can really say that like that's where it's coming from. We're literally players who are doing this.
Yeah. It's kind of like custom kicks or custom cleats, like their
Yeah.
minor leaguer who did it. Now he's blowing up. Like everyone, he's
Hmm.
making them for major leaguers and stuff like that. And
Exactly.
they're auctioning them off and stuff. And like
Hmm.
more than baseball, what I'm partnered with, they're big with him and stuff. That he does things
Hmm.
with them. So that's cool. Maybe that might be something you guys in the future would be like into, like just custom like designing like these, like maybe I don't know, for like all-star games or something cool. Like there's
Hmm.
so much you guys can do with that, which is pretty sick that you guys are doing that.
So we did a little bit of that. Is I sat down with the front office with the Sky Carp, and they were
Okay.
like, "Hey, we want to get a couple gloves and everything." And I ended up sitting down with them, and I spent 2 weeks kind of creating a glove that they really wanted. Got the final product. Rocky obviously was the supplier in that, got it in, and then we had the whole team sign it and everything.
Yeah,
And then I think they auctioned it off for one of their charity raffles at the end of the season. So stuff like that, they're able to do, which is pretty cool.
that's pretty sweet.
On top of having some of the best high quality leather and baseball gloves that I've had. So, and I've played with Wilsons, I've played with Rawlings, I've had 44s, I've had them all.
Hmm.
And this is probably one of the better ones. It's not the best, but because there's always going to be something out there you haven't
Sure.
tried, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to try and say it like it is.
But
But
it's top quality.
it's very, a
Cool.
very high quality.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's pretty cool.
I'm not a pitcher or player, but like I saw the hoodies and like the sweatshirts. I told you
Hmm.
I'm trying to get me one. I didn't see the sweatshirts on there yet, but those are pretty sweet. I'm a big like hoodie guy, especially come winter.
Hmm.
Like I rock these like every day, so I'm
Yeah.
excited. I caught me one of those.
Yeah, they'll be up there pretty soon, is what I was told, and then a whole bunch of other stuff should be getting added in pretty soon. So it's just something that's passed the time in this season, and
Yeah,
we've all enjoyed doing it.
cool. And what is the like? What is your off season plan? Like, what are you going to do for the next couple of months before spring training next year? Just hang out.
Work,
What do you do for
work.
your off season?
I'm gonna go find something, and I
Yeah,
got bills to pay.
I hear that.
So obviously, with living in the camper,
Yeah,
we paid for housing, so my entire salary covered housing. So I lost money on the season, but so
yeah,
I got to recoup all that.
it's
So
crazy.
I'm gonna find something to do and go from there.
Yeah. So I guess one more thing, if you have time, the whole minor league I can't even say the word unification.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole minor league unification. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, obviously, that's going to benefit you as a minor leaguer.
I don't really know much about it.
Okay.
I've seen little bits and pieces of it, of what we've been told,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think it could be a good thing, especially if it'll iron out the kinks and everything
Sure.
that everyone knows, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
Little things like that. So I think it can be beneficial, but hopefully it doesn't like blow up in like a negative type of way for all the players who
Yeah.
don't really
Yeah.
know anything.
That's fair. That's a good point. Like, you never kind of know what you hear all the good things, and I'm sure there's so much positives about it. And I
Mm-hmm.
hope when it's all said and done, like it's just a huge benefit for all of you guys. Because like you said,
Exactly.
minor leaguers get paid little to nothing, and you lose money just like on your season. And then you
Mm-hmm.
hear these kids, can I get a ball? Can I get a bat? Can I get your glove? Can I get your whatever, your sneakers? Like, dude, no, I can't. I got to pay for every single one of these things. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and you were a senior sign, so it's not like you had like, this huge signing bonus. So like, it's
Oh,
crazy.
I didn't
Yeah.
have a bonus, so
Yeah.
I didn't get a bonus. But until I met the guys at Meraki, I've been using gloves since I had in college, like my freshman sophomore year of college.
That's
So I
crazy.
was using gloves like 7, 8 years old,
Yeah.
and all the shoes I got, I had my senior year of college. I don't have any new shoes, so
Wow.
I'm just using the stuff that I got at school. It's really
Yeah.
what I'm using around because I don't have an agent either, being a senior sign.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those top prospects that everyone really knows and someone's picked up or anything
Yep.
like
Yep.
that. So I'm just part of the grind and enjoying it
Just
as I'm going
yeah.
along.
And you're just out there grinding in the minors, which I respect and I love. I'll say this before we get off here. Now, I tell this to all my guests, like this is the MD Johnson podcast now. Like this is your official pod. If I see people chirping on you on Twitter or whatever it may be, like I might clap back at them. I'll body bag them for you because I don't want you to have to go in the grind and do that. But anytime you want to come on, man, I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, and I hope you have a great off season, man.
No, thank you so much. I'd gladly come back anytime you need me.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that, man.